President Barack Obama was challenged by Mitt Romney in the 2012 election, but they were not the only two players. The Republican primary included many candidates, some that dropped out early on and some that stayed in for months. There were many Republican primary debates, some that had a big effect on the election. The candidates traveled the country shaking hands, meeting the voters, and asking for votes. Each of the early primaries had a surprise winner until the end when Mitt Romney emerged as a clear frontrunner. Then at the conventions, Republicans threw some harsh jabs at the president and tried to make Romney seem more relatable. Then the Democrats shot back and shared a message of hope. An election over 2 years in the making came to an end with voters having the final say, re-electing Barack Obama for a second term. Now 24newsnow.com presents the 2012 Politics Year in Review. Another presidential election finished. Hi there everyone, I'm Marcus Harun. It seems like Republicans began battling to take back the White House almost immediately after President Obama was inaugurated 4 years ago. So many candidates tried and fought to be the next president, but it ended with President Obama winning re-election for a second term. He was sworn in for a second term today, and now we'll take a look back at the 2012 presidential election season, starting with the primaries. At the end of 2011, there were 8 Republican presidential candidates. Then Herman Cain dropped out before the first primary even began. The first in the nation vote, Iowa's Caucus, began a close and sometimes confusing primary season. Mitt Romney has won the Iowa Caucus. He narrowly beat Rick Santorum by 8 votes in the Republican primary tonight. Speaking of Iowa, since the last broadcast, we have some news for you now that Santorum ended up winning Iowa. They did a recount because originally reported that Romney won by 14 votes, but still it is very, very close, and since they have some proportional delegates also, they'll both be getting some delegates there, but officially Santorum ended up winning there. We begin tonight with breaking news. Mitt Romney has won first place in the New Hampshire primary. He is winning the majority of the delegates. The majority of the vote has already been counted. We are projecting Newt Gingrich to be the winner of the South Carolina Republican primary tonight. Let's take a look at the numbers. Take a closer look. We see that he won 40% of the vote, Mitt Romney winning 28% of the vote, Rick Santorum winning 17%, and Ron Paul winning 13%.
We had Mitt Romney telling us that we're now 3 contests in a long primary season. Ron Paul expressed the same sentiment, saying, quote, "We're in this for the long, hard slog." Santorum congratulated former Speaker Gingrich, saying, he, quote, "kicked butt, and I give him a lot of credit for what he accomplished." And Newt Gingrich, in his speech at the end of the night, said, quote, "President Obama is so weak, he makes Jimmy Carter look strong."
We have projected Mitt Romney to be the winner of the Florida Republican primary. He has a very large lead. Let's take a look at the numbers. He had 46% of the vote tonight. This is at least 90% of the precincts reporting. Newt Gingrich, 32%. Rick Santorum, 13%, and Ron Paul at 7%. 24 News has projected that Mitt Romney will win the Nevada Republican Caucus today. He had a very large lead. Now let's take a look at the numbers. Mitt Romney has 47% of the vote, with 15% of the precincts reporting. Ron Paul, 21%, Newt Gingrich, 20%, and Rick Santorum at 12%. Rick Santorum had a very big night last night. He ended up winning 3 contests in Minnesota, Missouri, and Colorado. Mitt Romney was the winner of the main Republican caucuses that have been going on for the last week.
Right, well, today there was the Conservative Political Action Conference, or CPAC as it's referred to, and Mitt Romney won big there. He won 38% of the vote. It's
the winners of both the primaries tonight in Arizona and in Michigan. Mitt Romney won both of those.
Again, 10 states voting tonight, and Tennessee and Oklahoma just projecting now for Rick Santorum. Marcus?
And 3 other states tonight, they went to Mitt Romney. He won Virginia, he won Vermont, and he also won Massachusetts. So these are 3 states for Mitt Romney tonight.
And last but not least, Newt Gingrich has won Georgia. We projected this much earlier in the evening. Mitt Romney is leading, of course. He was leading it going into the night, has picked up a few wins here with 288 delegates. In a close second is Rick Santorum, who's running around 106 delegates and has also won a few key states tonight. Marcus.
And then we have Newt Gingrich. He has 73 delegates tonight, and then Ron Paul at 52 delegates. It's getting late on Super Tuesday. 24newsnow.com just got off the phone with the Ohio Secretary of State's office. We talked with them. We're wondering when we're going to get in all the results from Ohio, because it's such a big state that we're looking for on this Super Tuesday. It's one of the biggest ones with many delegates, and what the office told us is that we're actually not going to be getting in all the results until after 3 a.m., because they're trying to be very careful, since this is a state that everyone is watching.
Big news for Republican frontrunner Mitt Romney, as we project that he has won Ohio. Ohio is worth 66 delegates.
Now moving into Virginia, with also a large amount of delegates, Mitt Romney won that state. He also had a few other wins tonight. He won in Vermont. There's 17 delegates. He's going to get a large portion of that. He won that state. Also, moving into Massachusetts, he was a former governor of Massachusetts. He won this state, and we are projecting Mitt Romney to be the winner of the Idaho Republican primary.
Gingrich found himself victorious in his home state of Georgia.
Rick Santorum won Oklahoma. He also won in Tennessee.
Rick Santorum winning North Dakota.
Alabama and Mississippi are going to Rick Santorum. 24 News Now projected the winner of the Illinois Republican primary earlier tonight to be Mitt Romney. First off, Mitt Romney winning 2 of the contests that we have. He won in Maryland and Washington, D.C. Last time that you were with us, we had 4 players on the playing field. Now we are down to just 3.
Rick Santorum suspended his campaign in remarks given 2 weeks ago in Pennsylvania.
Now we have Mitt Romney, Newt Gingrich, and Ron Paul left, and today we had 5 states that voted. Mitt Romney is the winner of Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, Pennsylvania, and Delaware primaries today. Bachmann, Huntsman, and Perry dropped out in January. Then the race stayed a 4-man race until Santorum and Gingrich dropped out in April. In May, Ron Paul announced he would stop actively campaigning, and in July he failed to reach a threshold to speak at the Republican convention. That left Mitt Romney as the presumptive Republican nominee. He chose Congressman Paul Ryan from Wisconsin to be his running mate. Ryan made his formal debut at the Republican National Convention in Tampa, Florida in August. But day one, what they did was they called it to order, and then they started a national debt clock. And that was supposed to be timing how much money is accumulated in debt in the U.S. over the next 4 days. But first, the big news was the official nomination of Mitt Romney. A big surprise.
This time it truly is official. The former Massachusetts governor is officially the Republican presidential nominee.
And Paul Ryan, the current representative for the 1st District in Wisconsin, is a vice presidential nominee.
President Obama only offers excuses instead of answers. His record is a shadow of his rhetoric. Yet he has the nerve to say that he's moving us forward and the audacity to hope that we're going to believe him.
Ann Romney's speech was very well received, and she attempted to humanize Mitt Romney by telling the story of their family and her faith in him.
I want to talk to you about the deep and abiding love I have for a man I met at a dance many years ago, and the profound love I have and I know we share for this country.
Day 3 of the Republican National Convention, Paul Ryan accepted the vice presidential nomination for the Republican Party. He was a headliner of the night, and he took shots at President Obama and also talked about the changes in the White House if Mitt Romney was elected president.
With all their attack ads, the president is just throwing away money. And he's pretty experienced at that. A Romney-Ryan administration will protect and strengthen Medicare for my mom's generation, for my generation, and for my kids and yours.
Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice also spoke, saying that Mitt Romney would be the right person to be president because he would help raise the standing of the United States in the world.
Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan understand this reality. Our well-being at home and our leadership abroad are inextricably linked. They know what to do. They know that our friends and allies must again be able to trust us.
The last night of the Republican National Convention in Tampa Bay, Florida.
In Romney's big speech, he tried to excite the thousands in attendance at the convention.
Mr. Chairman and delegates, I accept your nomination for President of the United States.
He talked about Obama's broken promises, but also highlighted his personal story, drawing parallels to the American dream and ideals they've talked about throughout this convention. freedom, liberty, and a greater America.
President Obama promised to begin to slow the rise of the oceans and to heal the planet. My promise is to help you and your family.
Hollywood actor Clint Eastwood was the RNC's surprise speaker Thursday night.
It was an ad-lib speech in a mostly scripted convention. He interviewed an empty stool as President Obama, then criticized Obama's record.
The first day of the Democratic National Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. And today, the DNC speeches began.
And one of the more moving moments of the night was Iraq War veteran Tammy Duckworth's address.
She praised Obama's record as Commander-in-Chief and criticized Romney's failure to mention Afghanistan during his Republican National Convention address.
And the keynote address was delivered by Julian Castro, San Antonio's mayor.
He told his personal story of his heritage and his grandmother, and he connected it with President Obama's story. He drew a parallel between Obama's values and his policies, and in doing so, propelled himself into the national spotlight.
And yet, the highlight of the night was First Lady Michelle Obama's address, where she weaved together the story of her family growing up, Barack's family as he was a kid, and the family they're raising together now.
She painted the picture of their relationship through the prism of the White House.
Tonight, I was in Charlotte at the Democratic National Convention in the CBS Radio News Skybox, which allowed me to have a great view of the Michelle Obama speech. What led into her speech was Castro delivering a fantastic message that was very enthusiastic. It got the crowd very into what he had to say about the president. And then when Michelle Obama spoke, she was much more soft-spoken, but at the same time generated the same amount of excitement for the president.
Day 2 of the DNC in Charlotte, North Carolina was a big day for the Democrats, with major speeches being delivered by Georgetown law student Sandra Fluke, Senate candidate Elizabeth Warren, and former President Bill Clinton.
And the highlight of the night was President Bill Clinton's speech. He blended criticism and comedy, serious policy, and more personal moments.
It was a speech that focused around facts and figures of Obama's record as president.
Now, people ask me all the time how we got 4 surplus budgets in a row. What new ideas did we bring to Washington? I always give a one-word answer: arithmetic. The Republican argument against the president re-election was actually pretty simple, pretty snappy. It went something like this: we left him a total mess. He hadn't cleaned it up fast enough, so fire him and put us back in.
Last night at the Democratic National Convention was highlighted by speeches from Senator John Kerry,
Vice President Joe Biden,
and President Barack Obama.
Tonight, what I really want to do is tell you about my friend Barack Obama.
Vice President Joe Biden's speech was delivered in an intense yet distinguished manner.
And he highlighted his perspective of serving with President Obama as Vice President.
He told 2 stories: the president's choice to save Detroit, GM and Chrysler,
and the decision to kill Osama bin Laden.
Delegates, I accept your nomination for President of the United States.
Obama spoke about the major differences between the 2 candidates.
And the biggest line of the night, he summarized the responsibilities that came with being an American.
We, the people, recognize that we have responsibilities as well as rights, that our destinies are bound together, that a freedom which asks only what's in it for me, a freedom without a commitment to others, a freedom without love or charity or duty or patriotism is unworthy of our founding ideals and those who died in their defense.
After the conventions, public polling showed Obama and Romney in a dead heat. One day Romney was winning and the next Obama was leading. Anticipation continued to build until Election Day finally arrived. A night like this one happens once every 4 years. People from all across the country spent the day voting for president. Now, different people from all different regions, different ethnicities, different races, all spent the day choosing our next leader of the United States, and we have the results. I'd like to interrupt you guys because we do have a winner for the night. Thanks everyone for joining us, because we have breaking news into the 24 News election headquarters. Barack Obama is the winner of this presidential election for 2012. We're able to see that Obama now has 274 electoral votes. Now he is over the 270 threshold, where we are able to actually call the winner.
What jumped off the page to me was that Romney is currently leading in the popular vote. We'll see how that plays out by the end of the night. Who knows, that could change. But I'm going to be interested. I'll see how Obama's going to react to the conflicts in Syria, Iran, a lot of the issues in the Middle East. We'll have to see how he reacts to that. I think that's really going to set the tone for how our country's going to move forward.
We're going right now to a live report, starting off with Omar Jimenez from Texas.
They asked how they rate Barack Obama's job as president. 54% said that they disapproved strongly with his performance, while 21% approved it somewhat. And did beat records all over Hidalgo County for early voting, especially on campus. And even last Friday, when early voting did ended for the whole state, I saw so many lines, and candidates were out campaigning. Signs were all over our student union. So our students were really active.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that young people are actually apathetic. They're actually more concerned nowadays about voting, especially University of Texas and Austin students.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people on campus, a lot of young people out there, you know, petitioning, having just in our plaza, having kids just out there saying, hey, like, have you gone and voted? You know, have you registered to vote?
And for the younger people of our generation, it's very, if you want to know more about our politicians and our government, we're not going to read a paper, we're going to look at our phones, and that's where we access sites like Facebook and Twitter, all these other social media.
Especially today and over the last few months, especially young people have been very involved with social media, Twitter, and also Facebook. I mean, I've seen a lot of my friends posting posters, you know, some people like Obama, others for Romney. It's just really exploded the social media web all over for the last several months, and especially today, people very excited that they, you know, got out to vote. Many people wore their stickers, and online they, you know, had hashtags I voted.
He is reporting on how Mitt Romney spent his day today, and then we'll get to how Barack Obama spent his day today. So Cameron, can you start with your report?
In Ohio, he met two ecstatic groups who he was willing to excite so that he could get them excited to vote.
Well, I did enjoy hearing the debates, just because I thought that it gave us a very clear picture on not only the policies of the candidates, but their character as well. I thought it brought a lot to the table in terms of public opinion, especially with Romney.
So we had Amendment 64, which was a ballot on, or was an initiative on the ballot to pass marijuana over the age of 21 for anyone, to make it legal. So at this point, it passed. There was a concession by the opponents. And Colorado is now the first state to legalize marijuana.
I mean, I'm all for legalization of medical marijuana. I'm not sure if the country is ready for legalization of marijuana across the board. I guess Colorado will be a good test area for that. We'll see how it plays out.
Actually, the Senate races have been pretty interesting tonight. So far, we've already seen several upsets for the Republican Party specifically. Scott Brown, who is a Tea Partier, has been set up to lose to Elizabeth Warren, and that's in Romney's home state of Massachusetts, which actually also went blue for Barack Obama tonight.
Though Obama won a second term, that responsibility comes with even more challenges. In the months since Election Day, Obama has met with Romney for lunch at the White House, appointed new chairs and commissions, and he worked with Congress to avoid the fiscal cliff. And now we all wait to see what's in store for Obama Presidency Part 2. That'll do it for our Politics Year in Review. I'm Marcus Harun, and I'll see you later.